Listen carefully because what I'm about to share with you has the potential to completely change the direction of your life. And it requires just 4 hours of your time, not 4 years of struggle, not 4 months of preparation, just 4 focused hours. Here's what's remarkable about this. Most people spend more time binge watching television shows on a single weekend than they spend planning their entire future. They scroll through social media for hours every day, but they won't invest 4 hours asking themselves the most important questions about their life. This is something that highly successful people like Bill Gates practice regularly, and it's a method that can transform your circumstances if you actually commit to doing it rather than just thinking about it. Your life right now, everything you currently have and everything you're missing exists as a direct result of decisions you made in the past. The job you're working, the relationships you're in, the amount of money in your bank account, your health, your daily routine, all of these things came from choices you made at various points. This realization should actually be empowering because if past decisions created your current reality, then new decisions made today can create a completely different future. It really is that straightforward. The problem is that most people make their important decisions while they're busy, stressed, surrounded by distractions and noise. They make choices based on fear rather than on what they genuinely want for their lives. That's precisely why we need these 4 dedicated hours, a specific block of time where you step completely away from your normal routine, where you can think with absolute clarity, where you make decisions that will fundamentally change your trajectory. Bill Gates, one of the wealthiest and most successful people on the planet, used to take an entire week off every year for what he called his Think Week. He would go to a remote cabin completely alone with no phone calls permitted, no meetings scheduled, nothing but time for deep thinking and reading. Many of Microsoft's most significant innovations and strategic decisions emerged from those Think Weeks. Now, I understand that you might be thinking you don't have an entire week to dedicate to this kind of exercise. You're busy with work responsibilities, family obligations, and countless demands on your time. That's exactly why I'm offering you a condensed version that anyone can fit into their schedule. Just 4 hours. Everyone can find 4 hours if they're genuinely committed, and those 4 hours invested wisely can be worth millions of dollars to your future self. Let me break down exactly how this works in practical terms. The first critical step is getting yourself out of your normal environment. Don't attempt this exercise at home where you're surrounded by familiar distractions. Don't do it at your office where work constantly calls for your attention. You need to go somewhere different because your brain operates on patterns, and when you're in familiar locations, your mind simply repeats the same thoughts you always have, the same fears, the same mental limitations. Visit a coffee shop you've never been to before, find a quiet park, go to a library, choose any location that's different from your usual spaces. This simple environmental change tricks your brain into thinking differently and opens up new mental pathways. The second step is turning off all possible distractions for the duration of these 4 hours. No phone calls, no social media notifications, no email checking. For this brief period, you need to be completely unreachable. Trust me when I say the world will continue functioning perfectly fine without you for 4 hours, but your future might not survive if you don't take this dedicated time for reflection and planning. The third step is following through on the specific exercises I'm about to describe. Don't skip any of them because they seem difficult or uncomfortable. Don't rush through them just to feel like you completed the task. Take your time, be brutally honest with yourself, and remember that this is not about impressing anyone else. This is about confronting the truth of your current situation and deciding what you want to change. The first exercise is what I call the life audit, and you should allocate 30 to 45 minutes for this. I want you to think about 10 different areas of your life and give each one a score from 1 to 10 with complete honesty, since this assessment is purely for your own benefit. Consider your health, including your physical energy levels, mental stress, and whether your life feels like it has deeper meaning and purpose. Evaluate your work situation by asking whether you genuinely enjoy what you do, whether your income is sufficient for your needs, and whether you're growing and developing as a person. Look at your relationships with family members, friends, and your romantic partner if you have one. Think about the simple joy you experience in your daily life. For each category, assign a number where 10 represents perfection and 1 represents as bad as it could possibly be. When I personally did this exercise 3 years ago, I discovered something that shocked me. My business was thriving and generating good income, but my health rated only a 4 out of 10. My friendships were at a 3. I had become so intensely focused on making money that I had completely neglected taking care of myself and the people I cared about. That realization became a turning point that changed everything for me. So take your time with this assessment, write down your honest scores, and really look at them. Identify where you're struggling and where improvement is desperately needed. These low scores indicate exactly where you need to focus your energy and attention, because you cannot improve what you refuse to measure, and you cannot fix what you won't acknowledge. Now we arrive at what might be the most important question of this entire exercise, a question that changed my life fundamentally and will change yours if you engage with it seriously. Here it is. What would you do if you knew with absolute certainty that you could not fail? Read that again slowly and let it sink in. What would you do if failure was literally impossible? Would you finally start that business you've been dreaming about? Would you quit the job that makes you miserable? Would you move to a new city to pursue better opportunities? Would you end a relationship that's clearly not working? Would you ask someone out who you've been too scared to approach? Would you finally write that book you've been talking about for years? Would you start creating content even though you're afraid of criticism? The biggest obstacle standing between most people and success is not a lack of money, despite what they tell themselves. It's not insufficient time, though that's a convenient excuse. It's not missing connections, though that would be nice to blame. The biggest enemy is fear. Fear of failing publicly, fear of what other people will think and say, fear of losing money, fear of embarrassment and humiliation. Our brains are literally wired for fear because thousands of years ago, taking big risks and failing often meant death. So our neural programming is designed to avoid risk at absolutely any cost. But in today's world, taking intelligent, calculated risks doesn't kill you. In fact, refusing to take risks is what kills your dreams, destroys your potential, and eliminates your future possibilities. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine that fear doesn't exist in your world. Imagine that failure is genuinely impossible no matter what you attempt. What would you do? Write it down immediately without judging it, without analyzing whether it's realistic. Just write whatever comes to mind. When I asked myself this question, the answer became crystal clear. I would stop playing it safe in my business. I would hire more talented people. I would invest in that ambitious project I'd been too scared to start. I would speak on bigger stages to larger audiences. I would create that online educational program I'd been dreaming about for months. But then my fearful mind immediately responded with objections. What if it fails? What if you lose money? What if people criticize you harshly? That's when I learned something profound about fear. The fear is always dramatically bigger when it lives in your head compared to when you confront it directly on paper. So here's what you need to do next. After writing down what you would do if you couldn't fail, ask yourself specifically what you're actually afraid of. What's the absolute worst outcome that could realistically happen? Write it down with specific details. Let's say you want to start a business. What's the genuine worst case scenario? You might lose some money. Okay, how much exactly? $1,000, $5,000? Could you survive losing that amount? Yes, you could. Would it kill you? Obviously not. Would the loss be permanent and unfixable? No. Could you recover financially? Yes. Could you try again with the lessons learned? Absolutely yes. You see what happens here? When fear lives exclusively in your mind, it becomes a terrifying monster that paralyzes you. When you write it down on paper and examine it objectively, it transforms into a solvable problem. Most people never take this crucial step of writing down their fears explicitly. They just remain frozen by the monster in their head. Don't be like most people who let vague fears control their entire lives. For the next section of this exercise, I'm going to give you several powerful questions to work through. You don't need to answer every single one. Choose the ones that resonate most strongly with your current situation and spend 10 to 15 focused minutes on each. First question, if I knew I would die 2 years from now, how would I want to spend that remaining time? This is heavy and uncomfortable, I realize, but it's critically important because when you truly internalize that life is short, suddenly all the small, trivial things stop mattering. You gain immediate clarity about what's actually important. What would you do with just 2 years? Who would you spend time with? What would you create? What would you say to the people in your life? Second question. If I continue repeating this week's exact actions for the next 10 years, where does that path lead me? Think honestly about what you actually did this week, your habits, your routines, your choices. If you keep doing precisely this for a decade, where will you end up? Are you genuinely happy with that projected destination? If not, what specifically needs to change starting now? Third question, what activities give me energy and what activities drain me completely? This distinction is crucial because some things make you feel alive and engaged while others make you feel dead inside. Write both lists. Then ask yourself how you can deliberately do more of what energizes you and significantly less of what drains you. Fourth question for entrepreneurs and business owners. Am I working for my business or is my business working for me? Many people build businesses and then become slaves to them, working 80-hour weeks with zero freedom. That's not success regardless of the income. Real success means your business serves your life goals, not that your life serves your business demands. Fifth question, what heavy backpack am I carrying that I don't need anymore? Imagine you're hiking with a backpack filled with beliefs, fears, old grudges, and outdated identities that no longer serve who you want to become. Maybe you're carrying the belief that you're not smart enough. Maybe you're holding on to anger about something that happened 5 years ago. Maybe you're clinging to an old version of yourself that doesn't match your current aspirations. What can you take out of that backpack? What can you finally let go of? Take as much time as you need with these questions. This is not a race to finish quickly. This is your actual life we're examining here. Now you've done the deep thinking, asked the hard questions, and gained real clarity about what needs to change. But here's where most people completely fail despite having great insights and feeling genuinely motivated. They return to their normal life and everything stays exactly the same. Don't let that be you. The final critical step is turning your insights into concrete decisions and specific actions. Let me give you a real example from my own experience. I was hesitant about hiring a full-time assistant because I thought the cost was too high. But during a think session, I decided my time is worth more than the expense of an assistant. My specific action items became write a detailed job description this weekend, post it on 3 different job sites by Monday, and interview candidates next week. Notice how clear and specific that is. It's not vague wishful thinking. These are concrete, actionable steps. The critical part is scheduling these actions in your calendar immediately. Don't just write them down hoping they'll happen. Actually, open your calendar application and block specific time to do them. If it's not scheduled, it won't happen. Also create a reminder for 1 week from today labeled Review Think Day Decisions. When that reminder appears, look at your action items and honestly check whether you actually did them and whether you're still committed to these decisions. This follow-up is how you ensure these 4 hours actually transform your life instead of becoming just another forgotten exercise. Your life is fundamentally the sum of your decisions. Every single day, your choices either move you closer to the life you want or push you further away from it. Most people live on complete autopilot, reacting to whatever happens instead of thinking strategically. They let fear and comfort control all their decisions, but you're different now because you have this simple but powerful tool, 4 focused hours of deep thinking. Use it whenever you feel stuck, confused, or unsure about your direction. The clarity you gain can genuinely change everything about your trajectory. 4 hours can alter the direction of your entire life. The question isn't whether you have 4 hours available. The real question is whether your future is worth investing 4 hours. I believe it absolutely is. Now stop reading and start doing. Your future self will thank you for taking action today.